You told us a cinema memory about going to the Stella Seaforth, Stella
Yeah,
Cinema in Seaforth
yeah,
for your
yeah.
holidays. Can you tell us a little bit about that cinema and what that was like?
Yes, well, I'm glad you asked me that question because it got really back to my very, very early days of cinema going. And I lived in Anfield, and of course Seaforth and places like that were quite out of the way. It was quite a distance. You had to get maybe 2 trams, and my sister was married to a soldier, and he was in the married quarters in the King's Regiment in just Sandy Lane, I think it is, or was. The building has been demolished now. Anyway, the idea was that I would spend part of my 6-week summer holiday in the married quarters, say a week or 10 days, and of course I had to find things to do during the afternoon because my sister might be otherwise occupied or cleaning or whatever. So I wandered off into the great suburb of Seaforth and explored it, as it were. And of course this would be 1938, 1939, because I went for 2 summers, as I remember. So I'd be 11 and 12 respectively in those years. And I discovered the Stella, of course. And in those days, as a young boy, you'd only have a few pence in your pocket. But of course that's all it took to get in the cinema in those days, especially in a matinee. And so I approached the Stella, and it was a decent frontage, as I remember, and it was a matinee. It was both times I can recall attending, although I think I probably went more than that, but I can only remember 2. And the decor inside was in keeping with, if you remember, there's a term called picture palaces, and that's what these places are all about. They were made to be little palaces for the public to go and enjoy. The public were, on the whole, living in very small properties in very sparse and difficult conditions, and of course to go to a cinema was very important as a lifestyle. So anyway, we got into the Stella, and that was the type of decor that was I noticed and was in there. Now, as a child, of course, I didn't take too much notice of decor, and that wasn't the thing. What impressed me was what time were the ice cream sales coming on, and what kind of film was going to be shown, and that kind of thing. But I can remember the Stella, and it's one of the few cinemas that in the distant suburbs of where I lived from Anfield that I ever attended. Like most of the others I attended were either within walking distance or a short tram ride. To get to Seaforth, I had to get a couple of trams. I remember number 18 was one, and then I got another one into Seaforth. And my recollection is I saw 2 films there. One was the Scarlet Pimpernel, and that was Leslie Howard, I think, very stalwart British film star of the day. And the other one was I think was a Victor McLaglen film called The Informer, which was made by John Ford. One of his, John Ford, although he made many films with John Wayne and people later, he was making films way back in the late 20s, early 30s, and this was one of his films. So my recollection is I saw The Informer on the Stella with Victor McLaglen, and that was about the Irish Troubles. This was in the days when films were even being made about the Irish Troubles, so I'm talking about the Irish Troubles of the early century, part of the century, not the more recent ones.